Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny Taylor, and this video is going to be a recap of how week 2 of post-competition season has been going for me. So if you haven't watched the first 2 videos, I definitely recommend that you do. And basically what we're talking about is how after a competition prep or even just a long diet, you have to find ways to get yourself out of it safely and healthfully. A lot of people think prep for a bodybuilding show is the hardest thing, but anybody who's actually done it knows that it's actually after the show that's the hardest thing, because there's no concrete goal. When your goal is to step on stage in a piece of fabric that's about this big and be judged by strangers, that's a lot of extrinsic motivation to stick to the program to reach your goals, or you're probably not going to do it. But once the competition is over and the tan fades and you inevitably have to get back to a healthier body fat percentage, which I think is the toughest thing, it's a lot harder to do that within the frames of what is healthy. A lot of people just end up binging very frequently and intensely once the reins are off. And while I do think there needs to be a period of overfeeding post-show, you want to feel more or less in control of it. So we talked about the ways that we did that before the season even ended, week 1, and now what happened during week 2. So it's important, it's very important, that you build upon the previous week's skills, and I kind of screwed this up this week. So first I will talk about what the goals were this week in addition to the previous weeks, and then we'll talk about what actually happened, because this has been the toughest week so far, and some of that is my own fault, so I want to talk about some of the things that I screwed up a little bit. So on top of the activities and tasks that we already have from the weeks previously, this week I wanted to focus on cutting back on stimulants, so mainly caffeine for me. I was using a lot of caffeine at the end of prep just to kind of keep myself going, and it's artificial energy. Like, it works when you need it, but it's not something you want to rely on all the time. So not cutting out stimulants, because I love my coffee in the morning and I'm not going to cut it out, but I wanted to cut back to 1 to 2 cups a day instead of the 4 to 5 cups a day that was getting me through at the end of prep. So that was goal 1. Goal number 2 was cutting back on artificial sweeteners. So anything that had sucralose, aspartame in it. I never make a point to cut these out 100%, but they kind of become a crutch at the end of prep. And I find that the more of them I have, it just doesn't feel that good. So not stevia. Stevia never bothers me. And for those who don't know, stevia is a plant. You can grow it in your herb garden next to mint and parsley. So a lot of people think stevia is an artificial sweetener, and it's not. So I always use stevia. But sucralose, aka Splenda, or aspartame in sugar-free sweeteners for my coffee, or in BCAAs or pre-workouts or diet drinks of any kind. I use them a lot at the end of prep just as a way to stave off hunger, but it doesn't really feel very good. So I wanted to focus on cutting those back anywhere where they weren't necessary. And actually both of those goals went quite well on the nutrition front. And my training was just this week, after a week or 2 of resting and playing in the gym and doing what feels good, I wanted to get back to a serious progressive program, and I did that this week. So what went wrong this week? Well, this week I'm traveling, and I'm making another video about what I'm traveling for. It was the world's first ever vegan bodybuilding competition, and my husband Giacomo and myself, we were judges for the competition. So we were down in Fort Lauderdale judging that show, and then also Giacomo's father lives in Florida, so we spent a couple extra days visiting with him. And because the first 2 weeks of post-competition were going so well, and I think that was because, I increased my calories the right amount and really focused on mindful eating and all of these healthy habits, I think I got a little too big for my britches and decided that I was kind of gonna wing this trip. By winging this trip, I mean I didn't pack food. I always pack food, but I didn't this time because I was like, oh, we're going to a vegan-friendly city and I'll be able to figure it out there. I didn't pack my floor scale, which I was really excited to not pack my floor scale. I mean, who travels with a floor scale? Most people do not, but because I've been on prep for 11 months and I've traveled every month, I've always packed my floor scale for the past year, and it felt really good to not pack my floor scale, and I feel like I wasn't quite ready for that mentally for either of those things, to not pack food and to not pack the floor scale. And I learned it as I was there. So we have eaten out a lot since we got down here, and I have done well so far with going out to eat, but this was just too much going out to eat, to the point where it didn't feel good physically, and I didn't have my sort of staple meals. Like I always have my oatmeal for breakfast, and I always have a lot of vegetables with dinner. I didn't have those, and I just felt super puffy and bloated, and I didn't even have my floor scale to sort of fact check me to let me know that I wasn't really ever expanding, which is how it felt physically to me. So that actually caused quite a great deal of anxiety for me. And it was a good reminder that even though at home everything has been going really well, you know, no binges, feeling pretty good around food most of the time, feeling pretty good in my body, even as it gained some weight, felt good about it. But without having those external tools to sort of check myself, my mentality about the way I was looking and feeling could kind of run away with itself. So good to know for myself for the future, and also maybe it can help some of you guys, even when you feel like you're kind of out of the woods in terms of that prep mentality. Better to play it a little safe than sorry. You don't need to cause yourself any unnecessary anxiety too much too soon. So if I could go back and do this differently, I don't know that I would pack the floor scale, because I think that if I had packed food, I wouldn't have had to eat out so much and wouldn't have felt so kind of gross in my own body. But I would go back and I would make sure that I packed at least the proper proteins to get me through, and probably can't really pack vegetables, but I definitely would have packed some fruits, or made an effort to have a pit stop as soon as we hit Fort Lauderdale to stock up on essentials, because we just Ubered around. We didn't rent a car, which we usually would rent a car and immediately go to a grocery store. That's what we do. But like I said, got a little bit ahead of myself and ended up paying for it in terms of just like not being able to fully relax and enjoy myself, because I was just worried that I was like screwing up what I was supposed to be doing. And kind of the whole purpose of the recovery diet versus the reverse diet is that you shouldn't really feel like you're screwing up by putting body fat back on. That's part of the goal. So it was very reminiscent of some reverse dieting feelings that I've had in the past and that I've seen clients struggle with in the past. And it only lasted about 2 days before I was like, all right, you screwed up somewhere, because you're really not feeling very good about any of this. So hey, Giacomo, supportive husband that you are, can we please like get to a store and make sure we get some staples, because I'm gonna feel so much better about that. And then also just trusting, as I know for myself and my clients in the past, when you eat out a bunch, your sodium goes crazy. Fiber usually isn't really high, even if you're trying to make the best choices on the menu. For example, yesterday we went out to lunch. I was already feeling much better at this point, but rather than get the veggie burger and fries on the menu, I got the salad, but I forgot to ask for dressing on the side, and they dressed the salad and it basically had as much fat as the burger and fries would have. So lesson learned there. But even when you try to make the healthiest choices going out to eat, it's usually not as healthy as what you would make for yourself. So trying to keep that maybe to once a day while you're traveling instead of, 2 or 3 times a day while you're traveling will probably feel better. But just be prepared for some stuff to come up. And you need to keep on top of that mindful eating, checking hunger and fullness, because even when you think you've got it down, if you don't keep practicing it, it kind of slips away, and you can find yourself not eating very mindfully and overeating on things that maybe you normally wouldn't if you were paying attention. So all of this to say, pace yourself as you get back to normal. It's okay to take it slow and be gentle with yourself when you realize that, maybe you're not feeling so hot, that you did just go through a very intense process for probably a very long time, and it takes some time to get back to normal. And it's good to have people like my husband and my coach, who I did send a message to just be like, hey, maybe I'm crazy, let me know what you think. When they tell you, hey, no, this is normal, you're okay, believe them. So yeah, anyway, this concludes week 2, post 11-month, 46-week competition prep, getting back to normal, getting back to healthy. If you guys have any questions or any suggestions that you have found to be helpful to yourself or to other people, let me know. I would love to hear them. This is definitely a system that I'm working on, not just for myself, but for my clients. So it is not set in stone yet. It's all kind of a learning as we go together. So let me know what you think. I hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you soon.